Hey, what is up YouTube? It's Overlord here. And I kind of want to, do something a little bit different today. I want to raise awareness for America becoming a police state and for police brutality rates actually going up within the United States. Now this is actually extremely common. If you go to a website, it's called Free Thought Project, you can see quite a few videos of police both abusing their power and people, attempting to flex their rights like the amendments and whatnot, and it just kind of falls flat. The number of police brutality rates has been climbing. I think it's like for the past 10 years, and it's gone up I think 30%, and that's just it's a really staggering number. If you look, I think it was like the 1990s, the number of SWAT raids was only in like 12,000, 13,000. It was below 20,000, but now every year SWAT raids, because of the war on drugs, it has progressively gotten worse and worse and worse, and I think it's over like 96,000 now. And quite a few times the no-knock searches and the war on drugs actually leads SWAT teams into the houses of wrong people who haven't done anything. It ends up getting both police officers and the people who own the home hurt and maimed. In one case, there's actually a kid who basically had his face blown off. It was a baby, mind you. He had his face blown off by a flash grenade because an officer had thrown a flash grenade into the baby's crib. Now I'm going to show you guys some clips of some police brutality that I found on the web. So here you guys go. Here's the first clip.
Have your license, please. Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get on the ground! Get on the ground!
I just got my license. You taking my license? I grabbed my license right there. That's my license right there.
Put your hands behind your back. 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 Put your hands behind your back.
What did I do, sir?
Alright, so as you guys can see in that clip there, that guy was shot for simply reaching into his car and grabbing his ID. And usually whenever they ask to see your ID, they also ask to see your registration. And stuff like that actually happens a lot. There was another guy, I believe his name was Eric Garner, and I can't necessarily play the clip for you because I actually can't find it, but he had ended up pulling into his driveway with his wife and kids in the house, I believe, and someone had called him about, had called the police on him about him being armed and dangerous, and so he hopped out of the car and police officers were there, and like he dove back into his car. I think it was to grab something. He had a knife. The guy was scared because he was at his own home at the time being, and police were surrounding him and pointing guns at him. And he got shot 11 times, and his wife had to sit there and watch and see her husband bleed out. Now, mind you, the police didn't call the ambulance until he was actually already dead and handcuffed on the ground. And stuff like that happens a lot. Now, this case is a little bit less than that, but it still is pretty bad. It's harassment. And technically it could go under assault. This is the second clip that I have to play for you guys. So here it is.
Okay, then it shouldn't be an issue for us to look.
It is. It's just not right that you just want to search my car.
We'll get a
for no
fucking
reason.
search warrant.
Okay.
All right? You want to do that?
I mean, if that's the route you want to take, but there's no reason you have to search my car. There's just no need for it.
Okay, let's get a search warrant.
I wasn't in my car when all this was happening. Like, why don't you want to search, like, my house or something?
Let me see your fucking keys.
Why?
I'm searching your fucking car, that's why.
You can't do that, though.
You want to fucking resist?
I'm not resisting.
You want to fucking resist? Search the fucking car. I really don't want to stand out here in the middle of a fucking raid.
Neither do
Right?
I.
So if you have nothing to hide in there, we're just going to check.
All right.
And be on our fucking merry way.
All right.
Understand? Asshole?
Mm-hmm.
That was intense.
You like that, huh? I can get a lot more intense.
You slapped me
Okay.
around.
Yeah.
You will.
Rip your fucking head off, shit down your neck.
Give me your name and date of birth.
All right.
Alright YouTube, so as you guys can see in that clip there, the cop basically assaulted the guy, took his keys, searched his car without his consent and then threatened his friend. And stuff like that happens very, very often. Police bully people into getting what they want, and it's very common, a lot more than what you would think. So another thing that happens, usually in places like Nevada where there are a bunch of casinos and places that you can gamble, is if you win a large portion of money and you're carrying over, I think it's like $2,000, $3,000, they can do something called civil seizure, which is basically taking your cash without your consent because it's under suspicion that it's used for unlawful things such as, buying drugs. And it's up to you to prove that your quote, money is innocent, and that's very, very stupid. I believe there was actually one case this guy was going to go buy a car from a person he'd been talking to on Craigslist, somewhere in, I think, Tennessee, I'm not quite sure. But he had actually pulled up all the evidence whenever he was stopped. The police officer asked, how much money he had. He gave him, like $17,000 is what he said he had. And the cop was like, alright, I'm taking this, I'm seizing this, I'm under suspicion that it's drug money. And the guy, he pulled up all the emails, showed him everything, and the cop said, no, this is for drug money. I'm taking this. And the guy actually had his money seized. Now, he had a hard time getting back, because that car was actually what he was going to buy. He's going to, I think, sell his car and then buy the better car of the person whom he was, attempting to buy it from in the first place, and they were actually trading cars a little bit, or trading parts or something along those lines. And another case, this guy, he was in, I think, Las Vegas, and he had won something from a casino, and I think he won, like, I think 20 grand or something, and that's, I think, the legal amount that you can carry lawfully is like 20 grand. If it's over 20 grand, then yes, they do have the right to seize it from you for some odd reason. I don't necessarily know why, but the cop said, who had pulled him over, said, alright, I'm going to take this amount of money, which is like $15,000. He's like, here, you can take this other $5,000. And if you attempt to get it back, you'll blow it all the way in lawyer's fees, which is true. So the guy basically had to leave his cash and let the cop take his hard-earned money. Now, mind you, the cop didn't turn this in. I believe he actually kept this for himself. And stuff like this is very, very common as well, more so than what you would think. I think it's in... I can't remember, I think it's like in California, there are over 1,000 houses that have been civilly seized because they've been under suspicion that they're quote drug houses, which is basically kicking people and all their possessions, like family possessions, family heirlooms, family photos, etc., etc., basically taking all that away because it's under suspicion that it's, the house is used for drugs, and you can't get it back. And, it's just a very terrible thing. Now, lastly, I kind of want to talk about something that happens more often than anything else, and I've seen this a lot. Cops, whenever they pull you over, they'll ask you a whole slew of questions, and you answer them, and they'll be like, okay, well, can I search your vehicle? And you don't consent to their search. Well, what they'll do is they'll get a canine unit. And canine units, usually for most police states or, police officer departments, they are properly trained. Yes, they will sit down in front of drugs, but usually the police officer gives them markers or, gives them an indication to, sit down, do this, yada, yada, yada. And the dog will sit down like there's drugs there, and then they basically get to search your car without your consent. So, this is a very, very terrible thing, and this is awful, and this needs to stop. So, what you guys can do to help prevent this kind of thing from happening is you guys can start videotaping cops more whenever you see something going on in the street, whenever you're under, a search, or you get pulled over. Start filming that cop right away and let him know that you're filming. Now what this does is it totally changes their demeanor. They usually become more friendly and a lot more cooperative whenever they know that they're being filmed and that it could be used against them, or they could be put on YouTube, because a lot of the times, usually whenever cops have footage on their dash cam, it usually gets quote corrupted, or it magically goes missing for some odd reason. So start filming cops on your own. Start, taking law into your own hands by filming cops whenever you see them arresting someone or arresting you. And fights, tickets, do whatever you can to make, police officers really work for it, and it really kind of deters them. Last thing I want to say, if you are, being harassed like that guy was in the video, and, you have your friend videotaping, and the cop slaps you like that and threatens you, go ahead and punch that cop right in the fucking face. Teach him a lesson. This is Overlord signing out, and I'll see you guys next time.